So I wanted to share our story of how FAM helped us to conceive. For those of you who've been following me for a while, you know I've been using the fertility awareness method, or FAM, for 7 years now to avoid pregnancy naturally. But then you can also use the method to help you achieve. So for those of you who are not familiar with what FAM is and how it can help a couple to conceive, I will explain the basics of it real fast. Of course, I have a whole video course going into much more detail if you actually want to use the method to help you conceive or to help you avoid pregnancy as well. You can use it as birth control. And I also have a course if you just want to learn how to connect with your cycle in general for your overall health. How it works as a fertility awareness method is when a woman charts her cervical fluid and her basal body temperature. So cervical fluid is a fluid that your cervix produces, and you can see it when you wipe with toilet paper or in your underwear, and it will change in consistency based on if you're fertile or not. So at first it's dry, you don't really notice it, that's when you're infertile, and then it changes to a sticky consistency, and that's when your fertile phase opens, and then it'll progress to like creamy and then like egg white, and that's when you're most fertile. Then it'll kind of dry back up again, and that's also correlates with when your temperature will rise with when you're taking your temperature in the morning, and that confirms that you've ovulated, and then your fertile phase is then ended. So on average, a woman is about fertile for 6 or 7 days where she's experiencing this type of fertile cervical fluid. So that is how it can really help a couple know exactly when they're fertile, and it's not a guessing game. You're not counting dates on a calendar or predictions on an app. It is the actual data that your body is giving you, and that is much more reliable and effective. So to jump into my story, there's this term in the FAM world called trying to whatever, and it's when you aren't actively trying to get pregnant, but you're not actively avoiding getting pregnant either, and basically you're open to having unprotected sex during your fertile phase, but you're kind of whatever about it. So we were open to it in about May of 2019, but I just wanted to see how it went. I didn't want to have to be like, okay, these are the days that I have the egg white cervical fluid, and we have to have sex this day. So I was just leaving it open, and thankfully that month, because of FAM, I knew that I ovulated 3 days earlier than I had in months, and we totally missed my fertile window. So I was really thankful for FAM because I wasn't disappointed that month when my period came 2 weeks later. And then we did 2 more months of like trying to whatever, and although it just didn't like work out just because of the schedules, and we were camping with friends and stuff like that. But we did have unprotected sex during the fertile window. So specifically on like days that I had sticky cervical fluid. But I knew because of FAM that that wasn't the most fertile cervical fluid. So my chances weren't as high. So I felt that FAM really helped me manage my expectations and help keep my emotions in check so that I wasn't super disappointed when my period came. Now, for anyone who's using FAM to avoid pregnancy, that's one of the FAM rules, is you don't have unprotected sex as soon as you see any type of fertile cervical fluid. So don't use my story of not getting pregnant while having unprotected sex on a sticky day and say, oh, I'm gonna go do that as well because it's not as fertile. Well, that is breaking a FAM rule, and you will not get as high of an effectiveness rate that FAM offers if you're breaking rules like that. So don't do that if you're using FAM as birth control. So after those 3 months, I was ready to actually try. I was like, screw this, trying to whatever. Like, I actually want to, put space into our schedule, trying to predict when I would ovulate, but then of course using my fam and my data of my body to confirm those dates. So I try to leave more room in the schedule, and for 2 months we tried. I have about 2 to 3 days of egg white cervical fluid, so we definitely tried on those days and didn't get pregnant. And I was actually surprised. As much as I know it can take a while, there's a difference between knowing in your brain and like actually knowing or experiencing something. And so I was a bit disappointed, not like super sad, but just like, oh, okay. It was the first time where that little bit of fear can like creep in of like, how long is this gonna take? Like, is my story gonna be a long, hard story? So I did have enough time to like have those thoughts and to let go of the plan. And trying to conceive is such a weird thing in a couple's life, because so many things in life you can plan and have control over, and it's just like, as much as you have tools like fam, you still can't control it. So I hadn't really done anything special to like boost my fertility during this time. I already have done so many lifestyle and diet changes over the past like 4 years. I've been on this journey of health and wellness that I didn't feel the need to do anything special besides taking a prenatal vitamin. But after actually trying for 2 months, I was like, screw this. I'm gonna do all the things I tell my own clients when they're trying to conceive. And of course, it's just tips and tricks and just tools in our toolkit, but I did them all. A lot of women like add one in a month just to not get overwhelmed, and you're spending money on supplements and stuff, but I think they had a lot of them already. And I started using my oils that are good for hormone health and boosting fertility. I started taking evening primrose oil to boost cervical fluid and eating grapefruit. And I started using Young Living's Progessence Plus serum, which is to help your progesterone levels after you ovulate. And I even put my legs up after sex, because I was like, it's a old wives' tale, and honestly, the cervical fluid will bring the sperm up. It doesn't really make sense scientifically, but to put your legs up. But I was just like, I'm doing it all. I don't care. So that month we got pregnant, and of course, there's no way to know if any of that made a difference. If it was just chance. But I was really thankful to have these resources and have these tools to try. And the tool that was by far, I know, was the most helpful was the fertility awareness method. And I want to say, if I had been using like a ovulation prediction app, it would have taken me longer, because I used it just to basically prove it wrong, because I knew I would with my fam data. And it kept saying I was going to ovulate later than I actually was. Also, fam gave me the knowledge that my hormone levels were good and my cycles looked healthy. So I knew I had good cervical fluid, which meant my estrogen levels were healthy. I knew I had a temperature shift, which meant I was ovulating. I knew that my luteal phase, so the days between when you ovulate and when your period starts, was a good length, which meant my progesterone levels were good. So all these things really gave me confidence that my cycle looks good. And even if it had been the opposite, I had a hard time conceiving a long time, my fam charts would have given me some insight of to what to work on, which I find very helpful. And I believe with fam that you can seek help sooner than the 1 year typical wait that doctors give women, because that's that's just by chance, that's like not somebody actually charting their cycle. So within 6 months, I say, if you're actually using fam and having sex on the right days according to fam, then after 6 months you can, I would encourage you to just start Obviously, I'm kind of more into natural things, so you can speak with a naturopath or a functional medicine doctor or something to help along the journey. So that's our story, and I hope it was encouraging to you, and I'll share a bit more in another video of how we actually found out we were pregnant.